I want to talk about you wanting to have a breakthrough in your life so badly that you're frustrated or even depressed or dying inside, and it's actual like torture, mental and emotional torture, feeling like you're stuck in a purgatory and you want to break through. So a few years ago, I was in a dark depression. Excuse me. I'm burning the candle at both ends. It was like 2017. I went through this deep depression, and I was working constantly. I had listened to hundreds of audiobooks. I've been around millionaires and people that built seven-figure businesses. I had all the information, and I literally could not. Nothing was breaking through for me. Everything was stuck and stagnant, and I was just stuck in chains, running like a rat on a wheel. And I was so depressed that I was just going through the motions, and it was a really dark time. And this client of mine, who's like a life coach, a spiritual life coach, said to me, she goes, you're pregnant. I'm like, what are you talking about? That doesn't even make any sense. She's like, well, either you're going to have a baby, like, you know, you and your wife, or something new is going to be birthed out of you, and something is gestating inside of you to be born into the world, like a new idea, a new breakthrough, right? Like it's painful or whatever. And then all of a sudden I thought about what Brendan Burchard said, who's like a best-selling author. The guy's a guru. He said, either something new is going to come into your life, or something new is going to come out of you. It's like time for a breakthrough. And then the farther you go down this rabbit hole is the more you learn about the power of surrender. There's this book by Dr. David R. Hawkins called Letting Go. And if you're ever going through a really dark time, it's like you could literally just be going through your day and you're healthy, yet you're literally suffering grievously inside, and you can't explain why. I mean, it's a pain that's so bad it won't go away. When people go through this, it's very real. So this book, Letting Go, he talks about how to let go. And even though I had read the book and done all the stuff and the meditations, little by little, I just slowly turned it around, and I worked my way out of that dark place. But here's what happens. When you're in that dark place, you have to come to a point, at least for me, where you go and you look in the mirror and you make a decision and you say, you know what, this sucks right now and I'm going through hell and nothing is working, and you know what, I choose. Because that's the one thing you have, Stephen R. Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about the power of choice between stimulus and response. There's that small gap. It's the power of your ability, of responsibility to choose how you're going to respond. So you always have that power. He said, even if you're like on your deathbed or in a torture chamber in some horrible situation, you can actually still choose. You have this power. And that's a pretty grim example, but here's what I'm going to say. I had to choose to surrender and go all in. This is the moment where you swing for the fences. That you say, you know what, my life isn't changing. I'm trying everything I possibly can. There is something that you're terrified to do, or some reality that you're terrified to admit, or something that you're unwilling to face, or a difficult conversation you're unwilling to have. I mean, and change can come, but your ego is stopping and preventing and holding you from having this breakthrough, because the ego is living a lie. It's surviving in a fiction. So this mental fiction is causing an emotional fiction, which is keeping you trapped and tied up, because in order to get past the fiction and move into the truth, the part of the ego has to die. The fiction has to dissolve and go away. And when the fiction dissolves and goes away, one of the constructs of the ego dies. It has to literally dissolve and dissipate, and the only thing holding it together is itself, is the lie. It feeds in the darkness, right? It festers on fictions. It could be any type of fiction. You could be terrified of getting married because you're afraid of becoming abandoned. You can be terrified of loving because you're afraid of unlove, or you could be terrified to close a sale because you're afraid of rejection, and that would mean that you're a failure. You can be afraid to take this leap or this risk in your business because you're afraid that you'll fail and end up losing everything and nobody will love you. Like, this is really type of deep stuff, and it's like in each of these things can lock you up in a gridlock to where you could be terrified to wrong turn. You could be terrified to last one here. Sorry, I've been sleeping like 4 hours a night. My dog is a special needs dog, so I'm up from 3 to 10 times every single night for the past 7 years, cleaning up dog puke and holding my dog up and petting him and basically praying over him. And this is part of a cross that I'm hanging up on right now, is teaching me the power of unconditional love beyond all measures for a dog that I love unconditionally. He's my best friend, and I haven't slept in 7 years because of him. I know. That's part of the reason why I don't have any children yet, is because I have this dog who keeps me up from 3 to 10 times per night. We have thousands and thousands of dollars in vet bills, rushing him to the vet. It's a lot. Every time the dog even eats or drinks, we have to hold him up or put him in a special chair. It's got this whole thing. I've made tons of videos about it. Extremely time consuming, and it makes my heart go out to somebody who has a special needs child who is taking care of them, or an elderly person that they're taking care of full time, or somebody that you love. A few years ago, my wife got sick. She had a problem like with her hip or something. For like a year and a half, she was on the couch and in bed, and I literally, she was able to do some stuff, like a little bit here and there during the day, but for the most part, I did everything. I worked 65, 70 hours a week in my business, plus 15 hours a week in my online business, plus everything else you gotta do in life, plus all the grocery shopping and cooking and cleaning, and helped literally do everything. I was 100 hours a week nonstop for a year, and I fell in love with my wife even deeper, and I loved to do it. So you can go through things in life that are hard. Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about stuff like this. He's like, you can have the economy crashes, and then you lose your job, and then somebody you love dies, and then you end up getting cancer. He's like, all in like a 3-month period, and he goes, people can't handle it, and they can't handle it, but you can choose, right? So anyways, that's what I'm talking about, the power of choice. You can choose your way out of it. I encourage you, I implore you to read the book Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. Get it on audible.com. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. Now, I got a friend who's a roofing contractor. He's got a wife and kids. My friend Eric. Now, he's not a personal development junkie like I am. And I brag at the fact that I've read every book you can possibly read. I've read like 475 books now. Right now I'm listening to Robin Sharma, Everyday Hero. It's amazing. Amazing. But Eric calls me up one day. It was a couple years ago in the fall, and he's like, dude, have you ever heard of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl? I'm like, yeah. Have you ever read it though? I'm like, no. He goes, you need to stop everything you're doing right now and read this. And don't call me back until you read it or something. I'm like, all right. I stopped everything I'm doing. I got the book. I started listening to it immediately. And immediately the book sucks you in. I'm looking at the road. So the book sucks you into what happened in the camps and the war in Germany. And it takes you to a deep, dark place of what people have actually really gone through and survived through, and it changes your life. It puts you in a new place of understanding and gratitude about how hard your life is not. So That's what I want you to do. I want you to choose a better life. I want you to choose to surrender. I want you to let go. And I want you to realize that everything that you dreamed of having in your life is just right around the corner, and you can actually really, really have it. I watched myself go from a totally broke guy who was insecure with low self-esteem, not knowing my worth, and not feeling like I had any value in the world. I didn't feel like I ever deserved to get married or have a career or anything. I just thought I was a total piece of shit, and I hated myself. And to becoming a successful guy with 2 6-figure businesses, and I had my first $60,000 revenue month a couple months ago, and I've been able to get a nice home and build in my dream studio, and have food in the fridge and things like that. And I got so excited because I went home for lunch, and there was a package on the doorstep, and there was a brand new Dyson cordless vacuum, because my wife loves those things. And I opened it up so I could take the other vacuum and put it out in my studio. But I got like the nice one, the expensive one. She's like, "Oh my God, I love it." She's like, "How are you able to just buy $400 vacuums?" And a couple months ago, the washing machine broke. It just blew up, right? I'm like, "Oh well." We went to Best Buy and bought another washing machine. And the greatest feeling is the feeling of being able to be a provider and know my wife to have this secure feeling that there's always food in the fridge. Because when we grew up, there wasn't food in the fridge. And to know that there's food in the cupboards, and there's always toilet paper and paper towel and Q-tips and toothpaste, and all these basic essentials will always be taken care of. Like on the weekends, sometimes if my wife's car is blocking my truck, I'll just take her car for an hour to go get my hair cut or something, and I'll pull through the car wash and I'll get her car washed, and then I'll loop through the gas station and I'll fill her gas tank all the way up to the top. And then that's a great feeling. And when we go out to eat, sometimes, a couple times recently, my wife, we have a joint bank account, but she also has like her own business and her own credit card. But I was like, she insisted on paying the bill. I'm like, "What are you doing?" No. I always pay the bill. She's like, "No, you pay for everything all the time. Let me buy you dinner one time." But we're together. Like, it's maybe a little too much. My father said something to me about how all the men in our family will wait on women hand and foot. I don't know, my dad's, I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but it's this feeling of, I love it if my wife, she was laying on the couch a couple nights ago, and she goes, "I want oatmeal." I go, "Oatmeal? We don't have any oatmeal." She goes, "Yeah, I bought some." So I go and I open up the cupboard, and there's a box of the different flavors of oatmeal. I'm like, "Which one do you want?" I'm all tired. There's strawberry, there's peaches and cream, there's blueberries. She goes, "I want the strawberry one." I'm like, "Okay." And even though that, I'm doing something for her, it felt so good. And I get a bowl, and I put, the water, and I microwave it, and I bring her the bowl with the spoon and a napkin. And she's like, "Thank you." And the feeling of joy that I get, sometimes she'll be like, "Hey, will you rub my feet?" I'm like, "Rub your feet? I have a million things to do right now. I gotta do this. And I really do. She asks me when I'm right in the middle of something. And then when I sit down and I rub her feet, and she always wants me to rub her ankles. And it's basically what I'm getting at is, when you have love and gratitude and you appreciate the small things in life. My wife isn't even aware that a lot of times I think about how the cold, lonely times, the dark, cold, lonely times of my life. Like, I remember after my mom died, I paid like $350 a month as a roommate in this condo these 3 other guys. It was annoying. It was okay, but I was a night owl because I didn't like being around anybody else, and I just needed a place to live. I would sneak down at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then that's when I would eat dinner, so I wouldn't have to look at anybody. And I would eat ramen noodles and put a packet of frozen mixed vegetables with those cheap chicken tenderloins. I would just mix it all up and cook it real fast, and then I would put it in a Tupperware bowl, and that was what I ate for dinner. I didn't care, I was single, and I was all depressed because my mom died, and I remember it was freezing outside and the snow was starting to fall, and I sat all by myself in the dark with one little light, eating, looking out a window at a bleak world of snow falling, and I felt so alone. But in the depth of the darkest part of my loneliness, there was a deep, deep, deep sense of peace, and it was tranquility, and it was beautiful. It was like rock bottom. Rock bottom is such a beautiful place. And it's because there's no... Well, I guess you can go deeper in that, but rock bottom is beautiful because if you fell even lower all the way down into your own death, you're already at rock bottom, so you don't care, not in a negative way, but in a peaceful way. And I think I can understand why some people stay at rock bottom, because it's actually kind of blissful, because all you have to worry about is yourself, and you look up at the ladder that you have to climb in order to become that person you said you wanted to be one day, which is to have a career and a nice home and a family, and you look at all the responsibility and all the bills and payments, and you feel like you'd be running on a rat wheel for the rest of your life. You're like, that sounds like the worst thing ever, and if I ever failed or I got tired or gave up, then I would let all these other people down, then they would hate me, and then I would hate myself even more. That sounds like way too much. I can't even imagine how hard that would be, but it's like, you can always picture yourself being that person, though. And one thing that helped me, and I was like, I started looking around. I'm not trying to be critical or anybody or judge other people, but I was like, if some of these other people that don't have half the capacity that you do, they just look like they're like, they don't take care of themselves in any way, shape, or form, seem to have these nice houses and homes. Like, how did they figure it out? There are a lot of people that are a lot dumber than you are that have figured out how to get what they want. You can do it too. Like, you're not inept. So I was having all these types of thoughts and thinking about what I would have to let go in order to have this life. And along came my wife. It was only at a point where I just gave up, and I was hustling, doing my thing, and working and landscaping, and I was doing music at night, and then all of a sudden, boom, she came right into my life, and my whole life changed instantaneously. I just knew that she was the one that I could build my life with, that I wanted to build a life with, and it meant that I would have to take my entire life from that moment previous, my whole life, and change my whole life. I mean, getting married and getting into becoming married it's a whole lifestyle change. I mean, and so is, I would think, having children, right? I just got off the phone with my friend Brian. He just had a baby already 3 months now, and he said, just changes your whole life instantly. I think that we're afraid of that because, change is good, but you also want to make sure you don't, you ever driving down a road and they're doing construction, and right on past the lane is like a big hole that just goes on for a mile. It's like 4 feet down there, and they're ripping up the road. You're like, I don't want to drive off this. I'm just going to stay right in this lane. That's that type of feeling, right? And I think the thing that helps you through these little navigation points are having mentors. Always, always, always have mentors, and always keep reaching. I think of monkey bars, like you're reaching through the monkey bars to the next. There's fog. You're in the monkey bar. You're holding the monkey bars in the fog, and you're trying to cross, but you can't see, and you're scared. You got to keep one hand on one bar, but reach for the next bar, and you're feeling around trying to. And if you can't find it, you go back, and you keep feeling, and you're like, now you're scared because you're stuck at this one monkey bar for so long, and you can't feel the next one through the fog. And it's like, the most terrifying thing ever is you don't know how far down you would fall if you let go, but you ain't letting go. And it's like you got to swing and leap to that next monkey bar. That sounds horrific. But I've learned that, like, what we do is we use technology and mentoring and advice and data, and we use other people's results and their coaching to help make that next monkey bar crystal clear in front of us. They remove the fog and they show us. They're there, and they're like, listen, I'm holding on to this monkey bar. I made it across, and it's really right here right now. And I know that you feel like it's a long reach for you, and it might be. You might not be able to reach it yet. Maybe you need to grow a little so your arms can stretch a little bit farther. Or maybe there's another monkey bar. There's a detour. You can go back around and get to it from this way. But like, you know the monkey bar is there. So when you look at successful people, get it out of your head about being envious of them and getting upset that they have what you don't, and start reframing that and saying, oh my God, they have it. Somebody I know just did it. They just got the nice house, and they got their business to the next level, and they were able to pull it off or start a family or get out of depression or make it through this thing. That's proof that it can be done because they just did it. That means that I can do it. Telling you, man, you turn your frown upside down and you have an optimistic attitude, and you start really becoming definite. I was on a 3.5 hour call. It was a coaching call with my friend Joshua Latimer last Saturday. He could have charged me $5,000 for this call. He helped me get so much clarity around my business and all my stuff going on. It was incredible. But anyways, I just want to say that when you become present, the moment will inform you what is required to do. I could talk about this for hours. I will talk to you very soon.